freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode number 352 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearms.com auctions, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is Bleeding Blue, and our guest is Kevin Jackson. Kevin is a creator, director, movie producer, best-selling author, and nationally syndicated show host. He is the founder and CEO of the Kevin Jackson Network.
I know.
In the wake of the anti-police narrative that exploded in the summer of 2020, Kevin funded and produced the film Bleeding Blue to offer a voice to the men and women who served in law enforcement. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Look, just stop it. No, don't stop it. Stop it.
Exactly. Like, no more. I can't take it.
No more, please, more. No, just stop, please.
Well, actually, I feel like I am slacking here. You are a busy dude. I need to step it up.
Oh my God.
Look, don't even start. You've been all over the country. Your husband was just telling me he's seen you for 4 hours in a month, which, by the way, is the secret to a happy marriage.
Yeah, it's not such a bad thing.
Bingo. Bingo. So we have titled the show today, Bleeding Blue, because I've borrowed from your new film that you have just put together called Bleeding Blue. We see it there in the background with the badge. Please talk to us about what this movie is about and how did it come together? Was there a specific flashpoint for you that you said, I need to help tell these stories of law enforcement officers, or was it a culmination?
So, God, here's the thing I want to say to the audience right now. I don't want to overtalk this, and I got to leave room for Cheryl and Dan to talk back with me. But this is an amazing film. And one of my benefactors, a very wealthy guy, he said to me, Kevin, will you write a book? This is during the Ferguson stuff. He says, Kevin, will you write a book on policing in America, and how we can help bridge the gap between Black tweens and the police? And I said, no, not writing a book, man. I go, I'm booked out. Now, we were going to do this book with a group that ladies that he wanted me to work with that he'd been funding. And it got so expensive and it was so cumbersome. And I just finally said, look, I don't want to write a book, but I will make a movie. And he said to me, you're going to make a movie? I said, yeah. He goes, you ever made a movie? I go, no, but Hollywood can do it. So if idiots can do it, I can do it.
Right on.
So I made this movie, but here's where the luck comes in. So Kenny Latimer, my director, was already filming police type activities and stuff along the film. So I told him, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing this. He goes, hey man, I got all this footage. What do you think? And he says, I think the arc is around Ferguson. I said, no, that's not the arc. The arc is around when Obama, the Gates deal. Mm-hmm. So we reset the arc. We added a story in between. It's really slick. A guy that sets up very similarly to Michael Brown. They called him the Gentle Giant. Mm-hmm. And he gets killed, brutally murdered. And so that's sort of the beginning of the film. But I'm telling you, what we end up telling about this film is how the media impacts, forget policing, just in general, how they put and we all know at this point, because Trump calls it fake news. We all know it to be fake news. We've experienced it probably firsthand. I know I certainly have. We've got cancel culture now. We've got defund the police. Why? Over what? Over nonsense. And then we've got this pop culture element that really In the film, you forget. So anyway, we went to all these hot zones because we wanted the people to see that the police are running into these hot zones. They're not running away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kenny has this footage. We now reset the arc and we start to do it. So I'd been on a fishing trip with Sorbo, and Kevin's like, hey man, let's do some work together. Okay, fine. Well, I called him. I said, hey man, you want to be a part of this film that we're doing? He goes, well, I got to get through SAG and all that. So I said, well, the way we'll get around SAG is we'll give you a piece of the film. No problem. So he became our narrator. And now he's a tremendous spokesperson because we're now showing it all over the country. And at a few of these events we're going to be doing, Kevin will actually show up. So that was the impetus. But I'm telling you, this film, I don't want to oversell it because people will think, Kevin, it's your baby, and nobody thinks their baby's ugly. But it really is that good. I have a trophy on the back. I don't know if you guys can see it, because we win award after award every time we submit this film to a festival. But the biggest win is when people stand up, like what happened recently in Scottsdale. I know you guys were traveling, and they standing ovation, about this film. Every time we show it to an audience, I get a standing ovation. People come out, say it's the best. It's not a documentary, it's a docudrama, because we have reenactments and things like this, but it's spectacular. And the impetus was very simple: the lie being told about policing. So that's a long way to get to that answer, Cheryl.
Well, I think it's a tremendous undertaking. And at the time that you're doing this, there's such a polarization, right? People that are, absolutely, they think that if you wear a uniform that you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. And there's nobody that has ever served wearing a law enforcement uniform that has done it, as a higher calling. And then there are other people that, they understand what the families go through. And it's like in the military, it's not just the person who's serving, the whole family serves, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned military, because a lot of the police officers are ex-military. And one of the guys, he talks about it in the film. He says, man, I'm in the Navy. He goes, I'm out theoretically in harm's way, practically bored to death. And he goes, I'm watching TV back home about stuff going on in my hometown, and it's more action on the police force than I'm getting in the military. And so he goes, crazy. I became a cop. Another one of the things we talk about is, you mentioned it's a calling. Mm-hmm. One guy says, my granddad was a cop. I was a cop. My twin brother is a cop. My daughter is a cop. I mean, he gives you lineage of cops in his family. And he tells I'm not going to spoil it, but he talks about one of the scenes he goes on that you're going to cry when you see it. Another guy was Sammy Davis Jr.'s drummer, and he quit to be a cop. Holy cow. Can you imagine you're performing with one of the Rat Pack in its heyday, and you tell your family, I'm not going to drum for Sammy Davis anymore. I just want to be a cop. Guys, he's 18 years old, 19 years old, and he leaves what would be a dream job for any kid.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be a cop. So I got to tell you, touching on so many levels. But why? Why are we having to make this film? Which, by the way, people say it's a pro-cop film. Well, then tell me why I talked about dirty cops. Mm-hmm. And on the director's cut, which we'll come out with here in a bit, we interviewed a guy. He called himself the mafia cop. And he says in the interview, I was your worst enemy. I worked for the mob, and I was a cop. So we have a lot of footage that's still left to see. And it wasn't meant to be some, puff piece for policing. We talk about bad cops. We have a series of scenes in there that will show you what a bad cop can make your life miserable. But we also show you when cops, accidentally shoot people, what they go through and how harrowing it is, and all of it. I mean, there's hardly anything left untouched when you're done. And I'm telling you, anybody that sees this film, you will fall in love with the film, and you'll think I'm the Black Spielberg.
I love it. I love it. I cannot wait to see it. I am kicking myself. I had the chance, as you said, to go to one of the premieres in Scottsdale, Arizona, at one of our most beautiful theaters.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
doggone, I don't even remember where I was.
Capri?
I think I
Was it
was
Seneca
in
Capri?
Dallas.
Was it Seneca Capri?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And you went out of
And there
town?
was one of you know this, guys. It's that old throwback theater with the curtains.
Yeah.
And they opened the curtains up and did the whole deal. It
Yeah.
was, you know, as a kid of that age category, it was amazing to see it. But honestly, the outpouring of people stood up, guys, and they were like, Kevin, one guy was like, holy cow, he's a filmmaker. And he goes, man, I thought it was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be that good.
Wow.
And he goes, I can firmly recommend this. I have groups coming up to me going, we want to show this film. You know, I had politicians saying we want to use it, you know, for fundraisers and show it elsewhere, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what happens. But here's probably the most ironic thing that I can tell you about this film. So I was talking to somebody, I think they were a potential donor, I can't remember. And no, it was a potential sponsor for one of the locations. And I'm talking to the management team and I said, now listen, I want to make sure that there's not going to be any blowback on you for supporting a film that defends the police. And the marketing executive said, I know, Kevin, you're right. You're right. Now, I've made this film that tells the truth about policing, good and bad, mostly good, but some bad. And we're having to apologize. It's like a teacher in Silhouette trying to be a whistleblower because they don't want to teach critical race theory. You know, they have to be, you know, face covered and behind the curtain, you know, I'm talking to you in a disguised voice because they want to tell you that they don't want to teach racism in school.
Right. We are in weird, bizarro, upside down land. And, you know, we can't just, it seems, for the most part, just watch something, see two opinions, you know, two divergent ideas about something. Like you said, you've portrayed, you know, amazing police officers who are doing all the right things for all the right reasons. And then officers calling themselves the mafia cop. Good heavens, you know, and then be able to, you know, come to a conclusion on our own without having to apologize that we even would watch such a film and even entertain ideas of, you know, one thing or the other.
Well, that sort of segues into, I started a site. It's like a challenger to Netflix. It's called the Flick Fest. And the reason I did it was because of the problems I had marketing my own film.
Yeah.
So Hollywood goes, well, first of all, I had theaters when we were just trying to four-wall it, which means you're going to pay the full freight to get a film into a theater, which Hollywood. So just to give people an example, a theater might cost you $3,500 to $5,000 to rent. This was back when we first four-walled it. But if you're Michael Moore and you want to get your film in a theater, it might cost you $500 a theater, just to put it in perspective.
That's cute.
So at the time when we did Bleeding Blue back in 2018 and we four-walled it, I sold out every theater. We sold out so many times that when I was at the Regal Theater in St. Louis, the manager comes out and goes, what is this film? Because it was packed. And here's what I can guarantee you. I had more people in the seats than all the other films combined that weekend. And I paid full freight. Michael Moore released his last documentary at that time. And I probably beat him nationwide, and I was only in 6 theaters.
Wow.
So now that was number one. So you pay a lot more. Number two, in Portland, Lars Larson, radio host, wanted to show it there. The Portland theater we wanted to show it at, the guy told me, I'm not going to show it. I don't like it. Distributors. We talked to distributors. We said, at the time, I said I could probably get a funder that might give me $1 million to distribute it. The guy goes, I wouldn't care if you gave me $2 million. I'm not distributing it because he didn't want to be blacklisted in Hollywood.
Wow.
Paul Gosar, our congressman, said, Kevin, I love this film. I want to show it at the Congressional Theater on Capitol Hill. So we tried to put it there. They came back after months of delays. They said, well, it has to be tied to legislation. No other film they've shown had to be tied to legislation. So Paul, Congressman Gosar, sponsored legislation that, you know, pro-cop legislation, just so we could get over that little speed bump. Nancy Pelosi said, we're not going to show it anyway.
Wow.
So when I tell you Hollywood had a stranglehold, So just so everybody understands how I work,
Mhm.
I was undaunted. I said, okay, fine. First of all, I'm going to put it on its own site and stream it, which is bleedingbluemovie.com. Then I'm going to build a social media site for filmmakers like me, where we never have to go to Hollywood again. So I built the Flick Fest, which has 600 movies on it, and it's $5 a month. But I want to change. If Hollywood is going to try to take something away from me, I'm going to give them a competitor. Will we succeed? Conservatives can help me and figure it out. But here's what I'll tell you. I'm going to solve the problem.
Yes.
And the problem that was happening in policing was they were lying. They said cops were out hunting Black people, which is a lie.
Right.
Just so people are aware, the American Indian, the Native American, is the most targeted per capita of any ethnic group. Black people are number 4. Next to the American Indian or the Native American are white people, then Hispanics, then Blacks. So this, hands up, don't shoot, and the fist raising that Kaepernick did was all BS. If anybody had a legitimate reason, and they don't even have a legitimate one, it would be the Native American. Because as I said, they per capita get stopped and killed more than any other ethnic group. So I wanted to tell the truth about it. And I'm telling you the truth about Hollywood. Now, I hope thousands of people that watch this great show go out and get signed up for the Flick Fest, because it's not about just my film. It's not about enriching me. It's about changing pop culture. Hollywood should not be able to pick the winners and losers. Theater owners should not be able to say, I'm going to take your film or I'm not going to take your film. I made a great film. And I told this theater owner, I said, do you ask Spielberg about the content of his films, or do you just play them? So that's sort of a little bit of, behind the scenes dirty laundry that people may not be aware of.
Well, Kevin, I will tell you, we are going to subscribe. And I'll tell you why I'm going to subscribe. Because when Hollywood says you can't, then that's when I say you can.
Let me tell you,
we will be there.
I so appreciate that. But let me tell you, my best message I ever got, well, I've gotten a couple, but I had a guy, he sent me a note because we advertised the Flick Fest on my show. And he sends me a note, he says, Kev, he goes, man, I don't even watch movies. He goes, but I'm signing up because you're doing it. I want to support you. And I want Hollywood to have a lesson. So let me just take it to its logical conclusion. And you guys are aware of this already. Look at the Oscars, look at the Tonys, look at the Golden Globes, anything associated with entertainment. And you want to see what their numbers are doing for their specials? Down, down, down. They've lost audience the same way football has and basketball. All these woke, people that want to pretend that they care about Black folks or whatever the cause is, they're all losing. So I said, I want people to picture just a second, the Flick Fest being on par with Netflix, creating our own stories and narratives and telling stories. I don't care, again, I'm not here to pick winners and losers, but I don't think Supergirl needs to be gay, or Superman in this case needs to be bisexual. I think that Superman can be Superman and he can be a hero to young men, not young bisexual men. And so I wanted a place where people told honest stories. Whether you agree, I'm not into horror, but there are people that have horror films on my site that make good films. So I wanted to give these people a chance. And more importantly, I wanted us to, as a conservative movement, to look at step one. If you want to change Hollywood, get in their wallet. That's number one. And if you do that, and 5 years from now, I'm giving out awards, not to a bunch of sanctimonious, spoiled brats who think Oscar's so white, or who want to talk about global warming or some other nonsense, but I'm giving it to people who love their art.
Yeah.
And I'm giving them awards that mean something, not these fake Nobel Peace Prizes and Pulitzer Prizes for bad journalism. So that's what I want. And if we do this, Hollywood is going to be on notice. I keep telling people I believe it was 80 million people voted for Trump, give or take. Let 80 million people watch your show one day, and what happens? You're rich. Let 80 million people go from cause to cause to cause every day. 80 million people donated $1 to this very program that you have just tomorrow
Yeah.
You're set, and we move on. So if we all decided we're going to give $365 to the cause every year, and we pick 365 different things to do every day, 80 million people, what could we accomplish?
Yeah.
So imagine what we can accomplish when 80 million people are signed up for the Flick Fest, or even 2 million. What's going to happen when because you guys know they took all the cop shows off of regular TV,
right?
Because of, you couldn't watch Cops anymore because, oh, it's making Black people look bad. No, Black people are making Black people look bad, right? But they want to blame the cops. How about we bring these shows back? So we're in production on some cop shows right now. So the point is, it's up to all of us, and it isn't about I watch movies or I don't watch movies. Get to the bigger picture of what it does to Hollywood. What happens when you leave Netflix and you decide I'm going to do something with conservatives? What happens? What happens when you stop watching mainstream TV and you watch programs like yours? Everybody benefits.
I love it. Now, spell Flickfest for me.
It's THE is the, and then Flick is FLICK. Fest is FEST. The flickfest.com.
Very good. I didn't want there to be any confusion about that, because the minute one of those haters hears this, they're going to find a dummy way to spell it, like a dummy site and
sure.
Confuse people.
The reason I've cut down on a lot of TV is because of that. The Oscars, we used to watch the Oscars every year.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched them for 3 or 4 years. They've
more
gone
than
too
that.
political.
Yeah.
And I don't watch Saturday Night Live, too political.
Mm-mm.
And I don't watch any of these golden awards or anything, because they're forcing stuff down our throat. I want to see a movie. I don't want, and there's actors that I will not see a movie that these actors are in because of the same reason, because they're trying to be too political.
Man, you look like my twin brother right there, bro.
It's so true, right?
It's just
Cheryl, I see why you're attracted to your husband.
Exactly. 36 years in running.
Yeah.
It's true.
But it's true. I mean, leave the politics out of what I'm sitting on my couch. If I want to watch a movie, I want to watch a movie.
But here's the thing, but here's the problem with it, and no, you're exactly right, and we agree with that. But here's where it really gets bad. That politics is now in policing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I mean, and we want to ignore it. We want to ignore it. Take it out of my movies. Forget taking it out of your movies. How about we take it out of policing?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where it's most dangerous. Here's the thing. A lot of things occur when you think about what happens when they've done what they've done to police. Number one, Blacks are not being protected.
Mm-hmm.
You already have to look at the color of policing, and that's bad. So
right.
Not only are police not protecting Black neighborhoods, they are concerned for their jobs. So that little bit of hesitation might get them killed, might get somebody else killed. So these types of movies and activities are necessary to correct the record and to save people's lives. And I'll be honest with you, when I made this movie, I made it because the guy who was my original funder, and for the record, I want people to understand, this wasn't some go out and get millions of dollars. What I had to make this movie on would astound you. And I'm still upside down. But as I tell people all the time, I didn't make this movie to make money. I'm happy if I do, but I made it to save lives. I wanted to save lives of young Black kids that have been taught that they need to go out and do stupid stuff and misbehave with a cop because it gave them street cred. Well, street cred and dead, that they're that's a possibility if it's for you to be dead trying to get street cred. So it was done for that reason. But yeah, the fallout of the politics, it's one thing to have politics in movies, but the politics and the reality of policing is people can die.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. And so we were going to talk about, what's happening with the culture in policing today. And I do think that there's that seeping in of, political correctness to the extreme, right? To the detriment of making, good decisions, of being able to convey ideas. I thought I heard something recently. I'm probably going to screw this up, but the way that an officer on the scene has to describe, maybe it's somebody that they're looking for, it is shifted to such a way that it's like It's a human-esque form, right? And I don't want to describe anything else.
Right. You can't say it's a black dude. He's wearing,
no, you can't even say you don't want to assume their gender. Right. So it's like, you can't say anything anymore. And then we've got all the critical race theory stuff, the Marxism seeping in, and
don't even go there first. Let's touch on this one, Cheryl. So according to Facebook, there's 51 or 70 genders, right? And anybody can be whatever they want to be, Rachel Dolezal taught us, and Elizabeth Warren. So imagine a cop doing that. I mean, I love the humor in this, because that leftism has gone completely amok. So imagine a cop going, well, the human form looked as if it could be non-cisgender, or, I think they call it non-binary is what they call it, right? They got all these crazy names for the stuff that they create. And I'm not sure what pronouns to use. Is ja, she, whatever, because I certainly can't use he and she, because we all know that we aren't just males and females. But just imagine this crazy scenario. And then pour on top of that, the politics of, guys want the mayor or the police commissioner, and people trying to get, the dead by cop lotto, black folks or whatever, trying to get shot intentionally.
Oh, wow.
And all the other pressures of just being a police officer in general. And ask yourself, why is there a mass exodus from police departments all over the country? Well, there's your answer.
Right.
I could tell you stories. We talked to cops. I talked to a cop in Cleveland. He said to me, he says, Kevin, we were just shooting the crowd. It was a sergeant with his group, because it was during the Republican convention. And there were thousands. I think they said there were 9,000 cops deployed when Trump got elected with the convention in 2016 in Cleveland. So I'm talking to these cops, and this cop who's a sergeant, he said to me, he says, Kevin, if you're black, you practically have to beg to be arrested. He said, you're smoking dope. He says, if I pull you over for weaving, you're smoking dope, you don't have a seatbelt on, you drinking. He goes, unless you really get on my nerves, I'm gonna have to let you go. and he wasn't kidding. He goes, I don't want to deal with the writing. Not
funny. Why am I laughing?
I know, but it is funny in a crazy way. But he's like, I don't even want to deal with the paperwork. He goes, I don't want to hear you running your mouth. He goes, right. He's like, it is so, he goes, you take a swing at me, I'm going to take you in. But other than that, you can curse me out. You can maybe even have a warrant for like a traffic ticket. Or he goes, not stopping you. Now, fast forward to all these other crimes that are being ignored. We've got Joe Biden and other people emptying prisons of illegals. We've got, people want it for rape, armed robbery. Cops aren't even calling in half the stuff. It's not even being reported. What's the crime rate now in any given city? I'll tell you, it's up, and it's up significantly. Mm-hmm. We had one of the worst rises in crime in 2020 when Biden got elected. This year, it's even up above that significantly. Mm-hmm. So what's the end game? So here's what's funny about it. All this defund the police is now backfired. So Austin, Texas, which is the Berkeley of Texas, has now not only refunded the police, they gave them more money, because you know what leftism is going to lead? It's going to lead to amazing amounts of criminality.
Yeah. Well, when we see Walgreens shutting down multiple stores because people are walking in with calculators, I understand, to make sure that what they steal and just walk out the door with doesn't go above the threshold that they've been told by authorities. As long as you steal under, I think it's $1,000.
$950. Yeah.
$950. So I can go $949.99, right? I guess before tax. I'm not sure.
And no taxes. Don't worry about the taxes. We won't prosecute you on taxes.
Yeah, we're just going to tax the rich, whoever the rich is, right? So as long as I can steal that and walk out the door scot-free.
You can't call the police. You can't even call them. They won't come.
What message
You're exactly
does
right.
that send?
Well, the message is that Walgreens is closing their doors.
Yeah, to business owners, to the
but
employees who are standing there, and to the police officers.
Let's continue with the fallout. where are these Walgreens being closed? You think these Walgreens are being closed in, and I don't know, let's just say this. Do you think they're closing Walgreens in Paradise Valley, in Scottsdale?
No.
I'm thinking no.
They're closing Walgreens in whatever the bad area of Phoenix is, right?
Yeah.
So where are they closing these Walgreens in San Francisco? Not in Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood.
Yeah.
They're closing these Walgreens in mostly Black and Hispanic neighborhoods.
Which is hurting them.
Pardon me?
And it's hurting their own community.
Right. And so if I saw a lady interview, she said, the old Black lady, she's like, what do they expect me to do? Where am I going to get my meds?
Right.
You know, where am I going to go to get the little sundries I need where I can walk to the Walgreens and pick this stuff up? Well, now she's got to get on a bus. Or who knows? I don't know how it inconveniences her, but it does. And by the way, in New York, they outlawed the big plexiglass screens, you know, because they said it was insensitive to the Black folks in these areas, in the minorities, Puerto Ricans and what have you, where these store owners who were, you know, getting things stolen all the time, they said, no, you got to take all that stuff down. So, and look, I lived in the hood in St. Louis, and I would go to this QT, and everything is behind plexiglass. And you have to tell them, I want Wrigley's, this gum, those chips, and those cigarettes or whatever. And you slide it through the little, you know, that little dip, and they pay you, you know, money exchanges through this plexiglass that's bulletproof, etc. And that's the way it is almost across the board in these high crime neighborhoods. And that's the only way these stores can survive. And in New York City, where a small business owner has figured out the only way for me to survive is I got to give you product myself. Now they're outlawed. Wow. And so you wonder, you know, why are these bodegas there?
Yeah.
Because there's no, Trader Joe isn't going to go there.
Right.
You know, the big grocery chain isn't going to go there. Starbucks isn't going to go there. Starbucks, just as an example, when I forget who his name, I knew him at the time because I challenged him to a debate, the former CEO, but he decided to put a Starbucks in Ferguson because, see, everywhere they put Starbucks, the price of the houses rise about 2.3% because they target certain neighborhoods where they want Starbucks. It's very relaxing if you go. They were going to make an example of Ferguson and put one store there. And I joked, I said, his name is Howard Schultz. Just hit me. I said, Howard, thank you for putting a Starbucks in the hood. And I'm sure you're going to get some Black female or, you know, midget to run it because you got to meet your quota. But worse than that, that store doesn't even have to perform. That store could have zero sales. It could be rifled every day with goods, you know, practically giving it away. And you're not going to say a word. That person is impervious to being fired because it's going to be your little gift back to Black America. Well, see, that's enough. We've had this pat for too long. How about the gift to Black America be? We start getting people back to Christian values. We start getting them back to being conservatives and caring about their communities and caring about their families and their kids. Go to these communities where cops don't want to go, but are forced to go. And you know what the people are doing? They're either trying to get out, they're happy that cops are there, but they're trying to raise their kids in war zones. They suffer from PTSD. I couldn't even tell you how bad it is. And we've been there. This isn't anecdotal talk. I walk the walk. I go talking to these people. I grew up in these neighborhoods. So my movie is important because we are trying to stop this nonsense. And it's these woke, bourgeois, suburban, leftist idiots who think they're helping Blacks solve our problems. And I would just rather they get the hell out of the way and let us start really working on solving our problems the way that we should be solving them.
I love it. That's awesome.
Man, we don't need to talk at all. You just keep on, Kevin, because you're hitting it on the nail, you know?
I know, man, but I feel guilty when I'm carrying the conversation this way. So I'm going to be quiet and let you.
No, that's exactly why we brought you on here. You know, the way that people's perception of policing has been vastly shifted and changed in just so few years. The first time I think I heard anything that was sort of, you know, anti-police that I felt was not well thought out, just kind of knee jerk, happened under Obama, right?
Yeah.
And then it just
But
kind of,
wasn't Obama black?
he was, yeah, well, that's half
And wasn't he
black, I
trying to get
assume.
everything together and everybody working together? And
That's what they claim. They
that was
claim
the
that he was
claim.
going to be transcendental. And I call him baby black Jesus.
You
But
well, you will
they-
know them by their fruit, and his fruit has not produced unity at all. And now here we have,
he's
you know,
producing
Biden
fruit.
2.0, or what, I mean, Obama 2.0, whatever the Biden administration is. And you know, they say out of one side of their mouth, oh, we want to bring people together, and then every other thing they say just puts everybody in little square boxes.
yeah.
And divides
So
us.
so people look, the audiences realize and Americans realize that that's a lie. These people are liars. They do not want unity. They love chaos. I tell people all the time that, do you understand that the mayor in a big city is really good friends with the biggest dope dealer in the city? They're personal friends.
Wow.
The dope dealer donates massive money to the mayor's campaign indirectly. And he knows him as well as he knows his alderman or as a city councilman or whatever, you know, name that those people go by in your city. The mayor knows this person. The chief of police knows they call him a shot caller. He knows a shot caller in every neighborhood, and he knows how to get things done. They know who's over the unions, any crook. As much as we have what we think of as like solid government that's, you know, lawful, I promise you that black market government is just as big as the one that you see. You just don't know who the governor is of Compton. You don't know who the governor is of 8 Mile, but there's a governor there, and he's not elected. He took his job, and he works as closely with the governor as anybody else. He's a constituency that you don't even think about, and he's allowed to do this dirty work. And when they need him, he will bring the pastors. Let me tell you, these guys are funding the pastors. I know a shot caller. He got killed in Grand Rapids, Michigan, young guy, and he ran his hood, and some other gang members took him out. And this kid paid for, if a person was going to lose their house, he paid for it, cash. Wow. If they couldn't get groceries, everybody brought their problems to him like he was the governor. This kid was shot and killed by a rival gang. The police commissioner, the mayor, all of them showed up to his funeral. Wow. Congressman showed up to this guy's funeral.
Wow.
When I tell you, and people think I'm kidding when I tell them this, law and unlaw are hand in hand. Now, in this case, this kid was, he was dealing dope and all this other stuff. And he was truly doing stuff in the community. People lauded this guy for the reasons that you might think. And he was doing bad things in terms of bringing dope, but he was doing good things in the community, and people recognize that. And they got this other gang that people went after him. They were like, how dare you kill our drug dealer, right? But that's the craziness that goes on in this alternative world. And we as conservatives, we don't understand that exists. We don't understand there is a counterculture to the culture. And, you know, Donald Trump did a pretty good job of exposing it, saying, guys, the reason why you put me in office and you don't care about my bankruptcies and you don't care about some of the things that I did is because I'm going to explain the game to you. Yeah. And they hate that. But trust and believe that the people that tell you that they're for law and order, they're also for unlawfulness and disorder. And they use it. I would never send goons to attack your rally or whatever, you know, Biden might be doing. Trust me, the left relies on goons to go to our rallies and stir up mess. January 6th, perfect example. We are law-abiding citizens across the board. We don't even think in conspiracy speak. These people know that, so they plant their goons. Anybody that's smart knows that this is exactly what happened on January the 6th. So I just want people to understand, everything that you see is not what you see. And you have to adapt a little bit of a conspirator's mind to understand what's really going on. As we say in the vernacular, game, no game. Now I'm gonna give you guys a quick story or two, just so you understand what I'm talking about. I was on Glenn Beck years ago, and I told Glenn, I said I was training my my nephew in martial arts, and I was teaching him how to use nunchucks. And I'm talking to him, I'm explaining to him how you do it. And so he brings up Obama, and I said, well, you probably voted for Obama. He says, oh no, man, Uncle, I ain't vote for no Obama. I saw him coming, and he was using, language of the street. And I said, really? He said, no. And so he goes, Obama don't know nothing about the streets. And he's telling me stories. So he says, like when I had to shoot my best friend. I go, do tell. Right. And he says, well, my younger nephew, he says, when my younger brother, who's my nephew, I'm not saying any names, but he said he went because my best friend was dating my sister, my niece. He says, and he beat her up. And my younger brother heard about it before I heard about it. So he was going to go shoot my best friend. He goes, well, I go to my best friend's house, and I'm calling him up like, hey man, I'm coming to the house. When I pull up to the house, he comes out and takes off running. So he goes, so I knew I had to shoot him.
Oh my God.
Now I'm going to stop there just to let you soak in what I just told you.
Yeah.
So he goes on, he says, well, I said, you had to shoot him. He's like, yeah, man. He goes, because I don't know what's up, but I know my best friend shouldn't be running from me. So I'm going to shoot him, but I'm not going to shoot him in the head because that would kill him. I'm going to shoot him in the stomach. So he knows I'm not trying to kill him.
Oh
and then we're square. Now, the reason I tell you this is because there are people listening to the program going, what the, right?
Yeah.
That's the streets. That's a whole different mentality of the way you learn how to deal with things. It's like going to prison. There are prison rules.
Yes.
Okay. So there are rules on the street that people don't know about. Well, cops have to know this. Cops have to know all this nuance. They got to know things that they got to know and see things that I swear to you, you don't want to know and you don't want to see. And we have to do our part to protect them. They have the most dangerous job in the world. And they get up every morning and they do it happily. For, as we mentioned earlier, it's a calling. And they have to deal with criminals don't have a bureaucracy. Criminals don't have a criminal cam.
Very simple, right?
Right. They don't have a criminal review board.
We need to have those, right?
Right. I mean, criminals don't have a mayor that they report to that says, hey, why'd you do it? Do you know how you made my life miserable? And this. They don't have media scrutiny. But we hear cops need to have more oversight. For what? How about we have criminal oversight and we begin it by not creating criminals? And I want to say one final thing, which is Black people have no more propensity for criminality than any other race of people. The criminals in Japan are not Black, they're Japanese. The criminals in China are not Black, they're Chinese. Criminality is based on circumstance. And we've put Black folks in circumstances that lead to more criminality. We got to stop that. And the best group to do that are police, to show, number one, it's an honorable job, the same way teaching used to be an honorable job, and many of these other careers that are sadly not anymore. So my final plug is check out bleedingbluemovie.com, buy a cop a ticket. We have a place where you can do that, and support police, period. And if you want to go further, and I hope that your audience does, support what we do to change the narrative of pop culture, which is theflickfest.com. By the way, I want to say this on the Flickfest. Our movies are spectacular. This isn't like you're doing me a favor. Get on that site, watch a few movies. A lot of them are shorts. They're 10, 20 minutes. As short as anything under 40 minutes. Watch a couple of these. Watch Act 2, which is an amazing love story. There's one called Something the Dog. It won our award for the best film we had on at the time. It's got Steven Weber in it, who you might know from Wings. Unbelievably good movie. Hysterical. There's great movies on there. And we load probably 50 movies a month, as many as Netflix. So check it out. And if you like it, stay with it. And I hope people do. I hope people, if you don't like it, stay with it, but I know you will.
I love it. That's
Well,
fantastic.
before we go, I got to tell you, Kevin, and you just, so I don't want to go one up on you, but when you were talking about the guy that was a drummer that quit with Sammy Davis Jr. to become a cop, I got one better than that.
Oh, really?
Can you believe that a guy that worked for me quit to be a cop? Me,
man. Okay.
Come on.
Okay. Hands down, dude.
Right?
Right.
I mean, mind blown, right?
Right. And it's like, we encourage, the thing is, we encouraged him. He said, I want to be a cop. So we helped him to do whatever we could do to get him in. And now he's a police officer. And I'm very proud to know him. And he's doing a great job.
That's awesome, man. Look, I think that is so wonderful. That's a great story for you that, that mentoring and whatever it was that made him decide to do that. And I don't know what level of influence you had. I'm sure it was a nudge, because a lot of times it's their fathers or, an uncle was, or something like that. But whatever it took, and the fact that you continue to encourage him to go that route. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to need him more than ever. DeSantis is offering $5,000, I think, if you'll come and be a cop in Florida. So
I saw that.
Yeah.
That'd be a rich environment for your movie if you haven't already, canvassed Florida.
We're doing a TV show called Off the Cuff, and it's a bunch of old cops that retired and the statute of limitations have run out on any bad doings that they've done. And they speak off the cuff about what they did to get bad guys off the street. And I'm going to tell you, wow. That's what I got to tell you. These stories about what these guys did, they were like, yeah, I planted dope on him. He was a drug dealer. It was, and what's funny about the stories is you while you go, oh, that's horrible, man. You did. He goes, yeah. But when you get to the end of it, like the dude was a 12-time rapist, so yeah, we were going to get him off the street, one way or the other. So you end up going, wow, way to go, So yeah, it's cops admitting their bad deeds, but at the end of it, you go, I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I understand.
How many more women had to be raped? How many more people needed to be shot, killed, et cetera. So yeah, it's a very revealing show. So we're just, I'm not saying I'm strictly dealing with cops. My whole mission for my brand, if you will, which we rebranded from the Black Sphere to the KevinJacksonNetwork.com because somebody said I was cute. No, I'm kidding. So we rebranded because I wanted people to understand we're about education. So I have a nonprofit for education called Seeking Educational Excellence, but we have the movie stuff. And I make movies, but I make movies that are meant to educate, to tell you something you didn't know and increase your, you're making you a better American, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So we educate on all these different things. So that's what our brand is about, is ending identity politics and making sure people are educated across a host of different ideas. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the rebranding occurred. And the movie is just one piece of that. So whether it's pop culture and the Flick Fest, it's a re-education. Don't trust Hollywood. Give the little guy a shot again, and let us show you that there are people out there who want to just make good films, and I could go on. So that's what it is. So anyway, people that want to know where to contact me for everything, the KevinJacksonNetwork.com shows everything we do.
That is fantastic. And I'm so excited to watch the movie. And I can just tell from this conversation that, you understand that everything is not, a dichotomy, that there are lots of shades of gray. There are a lot of nuances in our world. And I personally enjoy watching, reading those kinds of things because, it helps keep me balanced, helps keep me centered. So I can't peg too far out in any one direction, but very excited about this.
Kevin, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Great interview, guys. And anything I can do to help you, don't hesitate to ask.
Fantastic. Awesome. Same here. Kevin Jackson of the KevinJacksonNetwork.com. Did I do it right?
You did it.
All right. Thanks so much. Right. We will definitely be in touch soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Full of energy.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We're running late.
we are running late, but man, there was no stopping that train once it got going. That was so fun and so engaging. And I really do enjoy talking to people who are not so wrapped around the political correct wheel that, it really becomes sort of like a plastic kind of a conversation. He really digs into some things, and I think that I definitely want to have him back on.
Right. And I want to tell him about the
more.
flickfest.com after we get that, because I'm into short stories because of time.
Yeah.
You're
hard
tired. You don't want to go to bed, but
2 hours to watch a movie.
So I'm
weird.
looking forward to, and the fact that it's a non-political, it's not going to be like Hollywood.
Well, he didn't say non-political,
just
but he's
not like
just saying,
Hollywood.
and here's the thing I was going to say about the actors and actresses that get all political and puffed up on themselves on the Oscar stage as they're accepting their award and whatnot, is we didn't give you the award. The award wasn't won based on, your stance on Greta Thunberg,
right,
and the Green New Deal or whatever. That is not what you're getting the award for. Getting the award because you've studied hard and you've learned how to master your craft. And then
you did a good job with that particular job.
Yeah. And then what is your craft? Oh yeah.
Acting.
Your craft is taking somebody else's words, putting them in your mouth and making them believable. So really unless we know that you have a specific, area that you have studied yourself and you have a particular level of, expertise in, honestly, I don't really care that you're able to deliver a convincing line about the Green New Deal and Greta Thunberg.
Well, wait a minute. What if,
and gun control?
What if in a couple of years we find out that this whole thing was acting and that there's going to be an Oscar for that? And the winner is going to be who?
For their acceptance speeches?
It's all a game, right?
The winner of the greatest acceptance speech goes to, that's fantastic.
Greatest political
exception. I love it. I think you're onto something.
Well, it'd be hard because there's too many of them that's doing it.
It's true. All right, we got to get out of here.
Let's go.
If you want to watch more of these kinds of interviews with subject matter experts on cutting the cord between you and the government, any kind of freedom, politics, all these kinds of things, you can go to, if you like watching them, go to our YouTube channel and then click subscribe. And then everybody says, smash the notification button. I would like you to very delicately, with lots of class, lift your pinky in the air and press the notification
button. How much does that cost?
Nothing. Right? Our favorite price ever. So that's on YouTube. We're also on gunstreamer.com. We are on the smartphone app called OpsLens. And if you like listening to just the audio only version, because you're out doing things,
you don't
you're
want to see
glued
me
to a screen. Or what?
They don't want to see me.
They don't. Oh, that's impossible, honey.
Yes,
everybody tunes in to see you.
Yes.
Then you can go to our website. You click GunFreedomRadio.com, click the on-demand tab, and binge listen to your heart's content, darling. And really, until next time, I just want to thank our awesome guest, Kevin Jackson. I want to thank our amazing viewers and listeners all over the planet. Wherever there is internet, we have viewers and listeners. Your time is your most finite commodity. When you spend it with us, we notice it. It's valued. Thank you. And what else are we going to do until next time?
You're going to listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Pray for our nation.
Yes.
Pray for our leaders, even those mysteriously ones that we don't like.
Yes. Maybe especially for the ones that we don't like, right? Especially. They definitely need prayer. And we need to be in a prayerful state as we encounter and engage them and think about them, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Till next time, be good to each other. Have a great week.
Adios.
God bless. Bye-bye.